Listener discretion is advised.
We can also determine your level of thrill-seeking behavior. Certain
0.
versions of a gene on the X chromosome that codes for the monoamine oxidase enzyme, or MAO, are associated with the sensation-seeking and impulsive tendencies.
So that's why I hate roller coasters so much and rides.
Yeah.
It's
not
in my
into it.
DNA.
Corey was like, we were talking about what he was going to get me for Christmas, and he was
Texted
like,
me last night. I know what he's getting you for Christmas. It's amazing.
well, he alluded that it was going to be an activity, that one of the gifts was an activity, and I was like, I don't ever want to go skydiving,
Hot air
bungee jumping.
balloon.
No.
I did the hot air balloon. That's nice because it's very slow moving. Anything fast, skiing, no. I don't like speed.
Desire. No desire.
Speed and heights.
I like skiing, but I don't feel any need to push myself. Like, just give me like a nice, gentle slope.
You're not going to
No.
bomb down the hill.
Yeah, I don't need to get to the next level. I don't need to do a black diamond. I need to like have a nice day out, get some rosy cheeks, have some
Spend
cocoa in a hot tub.
58% of it in the lodge
Yeah.
and go down the hill 4 or 5 times maximum.
Yeah.
Max.
Yep.
I don't have time for any more than that. Anyway. Also, my ass gets super sore from skiing. One day,
You're like
honestly.
crouching all day.
Yeah, it's not for me. Movement is not for me. It can also determine propensity for diseases like Huntington's, breast cancer, cystic fibrosis, or certain forms of bowel cancer. So I thought it was kind of interesting that at this point we can't test and determine like a lot of disease propensities from your DNA, but I mean,
Probably more and
Huntington's,
more
holy
each
shit.
day.
I suppose if there was one disease that I'm aware of, it would be Huntington's that I would want to know.
Well, yeah, there are a lot. There are some that we probably haven't even heard of.
I was diagnosed with diabetes through genetic testing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. So they caught it before I had any symptoms. My mom was taking my dad to like an eye appointment. He had to get like his eyes dilated or something, so he couldn't drive. And there was a pamphlet because it was at like Fairview at the U of M. And being like, do you have, children of diabetic parents, blah, 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 enter into this study. So my sister and I went into this study and it like tested for all these different like genetic components, mostly an antibody that indicates whether or not you're like a carrier of diabetes. And I had the antibody and Ashley didn't. So I stayed in the study and I just had glucose tolerance testing like every 6 months until my blood sugar elevated and they put me on insulin.
Wow.
Well, that's good that they were able to preempt it. I mean,
Yeah.
you still have
Before you get really
diabetes,
fucking
but,
sick
like,
from it.
Yeah.
Right. Because, having it go untreated for a long time can really suck.
But with Scott, he developed symptoms, right?
Oh,
'Cause
yeah.
He doesn't have a parent that has it. Okay.
DNA can also help us solve ancient mysteries, my favorite. This is from
Ancient
CNN.
Aliens.
Ugh. Aliens.
The best show.
No one knew where Richard III, one of the most famous kings of England, was buried until his remains were discovered in a parking lot in Leicester.
Just like sitting in an old Toyota Camry or like under the ground.
They were underneath the parking
So
lot.
they weren't in a parking lot. They were under a parking
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
Get it right, CNN.
Okay. The remains showed evidence of battle wounds and scoliosis, but scientists weren't sure the skeleton was Richard III's until DNA extracted from the bones was matched to a guy named Michael Ibsen, who was known to be a direct descendant of the king's sister.
Oh, cool. That's some Golden State Killer shit.
So I
Familial DNA.
I feel like this happened relatively recently, and I
Yeah.
think that they were digging up the parking lot to like
Build a mall
redo
Yeah.
it.
on
Yeah.
top
Yeah.
of Richard
They
III.
paved paradise to put it a parking lot.
They paved Richard III to put
Paved a hunchback evil king to put up a parking lot.
Yep.
Yeah, he was bad.
Wow.
This wasn't
what
the first.
like a perfectly disrespectful, awful legacy for such a monster of a person.
Imagine if he was haunting that parking lot.
Just found hundreds
Well,
of years
England is,
later
like,
under a parking lot.
Not that big, and it's got a lot of history. So, like, it's probably
Every
true
parking
of
lot
everything.
has a sinister
Yeah.
ex-ruler under it, possibly.
Well, we can only hope that one day all of us will be buried under a parking lot.
I want to be found under a parking lot at some point.
That would
remains.
be really on brand for you.
It really would. I request that church parking lot in Excelsior that I used to sneak out to have sex with my high school boyfriends in.
I feel like you have I know that parking lot. I feel like you have a solid 40% chance of being buried under a parking lot.
I think so too, especially if I craft a line about this in my will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vegas odds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tip the scales.